Strike Back Season 4, Episode 5. This was definitely a real action-based episode. It was one of the really big action episodes. There wasn't a ton of story in this one. We go from the very tragic last episode where a lot of story-based stuff. That was a huge action episode as well, but not just the emotional ending, but there was a lot of story-based stuff. We had the CIA agents not being just crazy, randomly awesome drug dealers. We had May basically, tricking the guy at the end. She kind of did, but at the same time, she didn't. She was just like, I don't really give a crap about you. And, she leaves him, she gives, this speech about his father's legacy and stuff. There are just story elements, and then he gets killed off in the end. And there's just other stuff that went down in that episode, and, Scott and Finn, and then, of course, Scott at the end. But this one was, really just action episode. They get into Korea. It's just shootout after shootout. They have a shootout in the little club sort of area, the special room and stuff, which it sounded like they were playing the song I Need a Hero, but I don't think that's what it was. I don't really know that song. But while they were shooting, it just sounded in the background, just I Need a Hero just was playing. Even though it's a terrible rendition. If you've never heard that song, that's not what it sounds like. But that's just what it sounded like to me. Like I said, I don't really know the lyrics to the song, so I don't think that's what it was. That's what I was hearing when they were in the firefight. Just I need a hero, and they're just shooting people up through in this firefight, this little firefight. But I enjoyed that. That was a nice little action scene. The limo scene was very interesting. There were a couple of really important story moments, but they were done really, really they were succinct, super, super tiny moments. One of which, of course, was the scene in the limo when Scott was what was that girl's name? And, of course, that piggybacks off of the end of the last episode because he's in this really messed up mindset. And the guy's who cares? And he just blows him away. I mean, no one's going to find him, find out that they're there because of it. And he just kills the guy. And it's it was obvious why that happened. And then they had the scene before everything kind of went crazy, or I guess after the first, crazy firefight they had. It was even, Stonebridge is even if you put a bullet between her eyes, it's not going to bring Julia back. And it's I know, but then he didn't, obviously want to talk about it any further than that. And we had, of course, the opening scene where he was kind of giving her a memorial, and he was tearing up and stuff. So there were, minor story-based moments in the episode for sure, but it was a pure action episode all the way. Just through and through, it was that. The first firefight, they're just shooting up a bunch of people. The guy ends up getting killed because of his son. His son gets killed. And then they just shoot up a bunch of people. They're throwing grenades. I love this scene. I think it was probably my favorite action scene, even though there was some amazing stuff in this episode. When they have the first firefight and they're just running straight down, I just love the camera work of that. And they're just, just shooting people as they're coming towards them. And the camera switches, either it's backing up while they're running towards the camera, or it's this sort of side view. And both looked really awesome. I was this just looks really cool because they're just running straight down this super long pathway next to all these old trolleys and stuff. And they're just, left and right just shooting a bunch of people. And it looked really cool, and then they, jumped through the window and just dodged the train and stuff. I was this was a really cool little fight scene, or, action scene. And it was probably the longest one because the ending scene, the nuclear stuff, there was action in it, but it was really spread out. It was okay, Scott ran into somebody, he was fighting the guy, which led to one of the scenes that always plays during the countdown. And every time I saw it, I was what is happening in this scene? It was, the guy was really close to the camera, and then it looked like somebody else was just falling through the sky. And I finally saw the scene in context. I'm okay, the guy fell off, and that's what's happening. Because every time I saw that, I'm I want to know what's going on in this scene, because it looked like there was some crazy emergency and someone fell off a building or something. But it was obvious that they were inside a building, in a sense, at least. I found out they were inside of the I guess silo. I guess they're all called silos. I don't really know. But that was a cool scene, and he's, he flips that guy over, and then they have their little shootout. Another awesome scene with Scott, which was similar to them running straight down when he ran into the smoke, even though he totally should have died, because there were 3 people, and he shot one guy and then ended up shooting all 3 of them. But it was still just an awesome scene. It was he totally would have died there, but it's Strike Back, so they just survive and do awesome crap. I did like that. It looked really cool. The whole episode, I noticed when they were in Korea, or at least most of it, until they got to the forest, it was all like very, very color corrected, where it was really dark and it was just so much smoke. Or it was supposed to be snow, I believe, but it was like sort of snow, but not exactly snow, and it was like you couldn't see past anything. I thought that looked awesome when it started off, and I kind of wish that lasted a little bit longer, but that was just something that caught me in the beginning of the episode. I was like, this just looks really cool. Like, you can't even see like 10 feet past, what they're looking at. And it just seemed really awesome. Like, everything was just constantly hidden in the background and stuff. And it just looked really cool to me. So I enjoyed that. One of the other really great moments, which was also sort of story based, but at the same time, not really, it was just a great character moment, was definitely when they first got into the forest and they ran into that little girl and her parents. And it was just an amazing scene to me. It was like, there's no music. It was like, we aren't gonna, shoot this innocent family just for spotting us, but we have to figure out something so that they don't just run away and tell. And they give the kid the ration chocolate bar, and it was just a good scene. It was just like a very nice, calm moment where they were in a state of tension, because obviously, it's a calm moment for the episode. Like, oh, this is cool. They're just gonna get out of this, but seeing it from their point of view is like, the whole active war thing and all that stuff is like, we have to figure something very good out right now, or through all the firefights and everything, it's going to be this little girl and her parents that get us killed, in this country. So it was just a great little moment that just felt separated from everything else. It was just like, everything's going to be fine. Here's some chocolate, just, trying to communicate in a good way. And I loved it. It was just a nice little scene. And then we had the stuff with Finn was actually pretty cool in this episode, where he's, taken off. Fortunately, he lived through getting hit by the car. He was knocked out, but he lived, so he was in the preview for the next episode. I have no idea what to expect for that one, but he does get captured. And it was a cool little scene, like he was running, and he throws the bucket down to warn the team, warn Locke and Martinez. And I love what Locke did when the guy was like at the door. Basically, he's just like, and just he just shoots sideways. He takes that guy down, and the other one comes around the hallway, and he just takes him down. And it was cool. And then we also had a really great scene for Martinez where she's feeling really crappy about everything that's happened, and they do it early on too with Scott when he's like, easy for you to say, just go in and blow it up, but if we screw up, we're dead, and you're fine, basically.